Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Zen Curious Podcast. Today's conversation is one you won't want to miss. We are joined by Melissa Terese, the founder of Breathwork Worldwide. Melissa has developed a powerful healing method that blends ancient Eastern breathwork, shamanic wisdom, and modern energy medicine to help people release emotional blocks, regulate their nervous system, and step into greater self-awareness. Her journey with breath began in 2014 when she healed a back injury using nothing but her breath, a moment that completely changed her life. Since then, she's dedicated herself to teaching others how to access the same innate healing power that exists within all of us. If you've ever wondered how breathwork can support your healing, how to tap into your intuition, or how to navigate the messy, beautiful process of growth, you are in the right place. The journey begins now. Welcome back, everybody, to the Zen Curious Podcast. I hope 2025 is off to a fantastic start. I am super excited about the conversation we are going to be having today. I am going to pass it over to Lauren to make the introduction, but everyone is in for a treat.
Like Kira said, we're honored to have a special guest today. Her name is Melissa Terese. I've known her for over a decade. We've done a lot of work together and somehow put us together to walk this path of opening our hearts and our minds to what else is possible in the universe. So I want to introduce Melissa Terese. She is based out of, well, it depends on which coast she's in. California or Virginia. Like I mentioned, we worked together and found each other on the path of breath work. And Melissa, I would love for you to share a little bit about your medicine that you're bringing to the world, including the breath and the medicine wheel and all of the things that you're up to with our guest today. But first, before we get into like your modalities and that you're teaching, tell us a little bit about what peace means for you.
Peace. That's such a good one. And hi, you guys. Hi, everybody. And Lauren, by the way, side note, if you want to know some good stories, Lauren knew me before I was me, right, Lauren? That's how far back we go.
All the versions, right?
She knows all the stuff. She knows some good stories. So, what does peace mean to me? Peace is the breath and taking that inhale and finding your home. It's that gentle breath that you take in right here when we fill this space. And peace to me actually means, the home and the wholeness. That's what comes to mind. Home and wholeness.
Amazing. I know our teacher, because Melissa and I met from the same teacher, would always share a quote of the journey from the head to the heart being the longest distance that you'll ever have to travel, right? This 18 inches from here to there. Yeah. And so I know, Melissa, having shared your story with me a little bit about how you found breath work and what it opened up for you.
Yeah, the breath was a wow for me. I mean, it's my first experience with the breath is why I share it. Yeah. And this was back in the time too. The beautiful thing is the breath now is more of a household word, right? But back when I started, it was like, breath, what? And that's how it was for me. And if you want, I'll share with you a little bit of the story about what happened. Because, again, that's why I'm here. Yeah. Because Carrie, you don't even know, right?
I don't.
Yeah. Everyone goes through what I call the dark night of the soul, right? Down and out. I was getting divorced, on Prozac for depression, struggling mom, all the things. I call that the dark night of the soul or the hero's journey. I was on my hero's journey. And I had decided to go on a Sedona, Arizona retreat. It's called a soul adventure. And by the way, they're still out there doing that. But and so you meet this cool angel guide and you go out there for a weekend or a week and they set up all these cool activities for you. And I was just starting out. I wasn't even I don't even think I would call myself a spiritual person. I was a seeker, though, that's for sure. And so, I went through, did a karmic clearing, had a massage set up. And on my second day, it was this breath work session. And I'm getting ready for the breath work session, but I am kind of like, breath what? I don't even know what that is. And I bent over and it like pulled my back out. Like I'd had a previous sciatica injury from having my baby, my first son. And but literally like take your breath away.
Wow.
Back pain, like could hardly walk. And I'm like, ooh, I hope I can make it to this breath session, and managed to get into my car, and I mapped it. I was only a mile away, so I go in there and I remember saying to the girl, I hope I don't have to do anything during this breath session because I cannot even bend over and touch my toes right now. And she was like, honey, don't even worry about it. I'm just going to lay you down and breathe. And her name was Jennifer. I'll never forget her. I'm not great at names, but it's like, how you remember there's certain things. And she sat me down and she shared like some facts, some science about the breath. And I was so like, all right, whatever. And taught me the 2-part breath that we do, or that I teach and preach now. And she laid me down on the floor and put headphones on, and boom, I breathed. And in that next 90 minutes, all this stuff started happening, like all the things, the energy through me, the hands, the emotions, cried a lot, released. But the most important thing was this energy. And then almost like my back, like popped back into place. And after that, when it ended, stood up and was just like, could touch my toes. And I was like emoji head with the head blown off, right? Like,
Yeah.
what just happened? It was like a true, I always bring in like a Jesus healing, like hands on. And I walked out of there and I was like, what just happened? And then through the course of that weekend and then that next week, I was like, wow, like I just healed myself. I did this, and I did it with a breath. And by that next week, after I had researched the breath and everything a little bit, I was like, I want to teach this to everybody, because if I can heal myself, I want to teach everyone out there that they can heal themselves too. And that started my journey with breath.
Wow.
Yeah, it was that it had to be too. You all learn that way. I have learned that I learn through like these catalytic moments where like the one great spirit is like, pay attention,
Yeah.
Yeah. It was that.
That's an amazing story. I'm curious because you said like prior to going on this soul retreat, you wouldn't consider yourself a spiritual person, but a seeker. How did you end up finding that particular retreat to go to? Like, how did that cross your path? How did you know?
Yeah. So I do a thing I call it Google Spirit, right? Because everyone's computer, it's an algorithm and it's tuned into you. So I actually, so I found the Sedona Soul Adventure in desperation, looking for a retreat to work on myself. But I will go back to my original, what I call my key code activator, if you truly want to know. I went into what's known as a journey, a ceremony with sacred plant medicines. And actually walked into that. That's another funny story. You want me to tell that story?
Yeah.
My girlfriend Michelle got me into that. Let me give a shout out to Michelle. I was at the time, again, like traditional therapy was not working for me. That talk therapy, again, I was on Prozac. I recall, I believe, at that time, my ex-husband, like he didn't want to do therapy, just not knowing what to do. I was a real estate agent. I was trying to fill all the holes. Like I was, looking for something, but I didn't know what it was. And Michelle led me to this woman, Genevieve, out in Los Angeles. And she was like a Reiki healer, like again, what now I feel like is more mainstream Reiki, sound healing. Like she laid me on a biomat. Because this was 2012. This was 2012. So I'm the 2012 activation wave for those of you out there too that know what that means. And if you are it, then you know it. So I was the 2012 wave. And so I started seeing her and doing all the stuff. And I was starting to feel good. I was starting like to wake up. And my girlfriend Michelle was like, "Hey, I want to go to this retreat thing Genevieve has, and but my husband won't let me go by myself, and he can't go because of the kids." And she's like, "Will you go with me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let me see." And so Genevieve also had mentioned to me, and she sent me this whole email detailing what it was. And in my mind, and it had to be this way, I heard and read, "Girls sleep overnight. We're going to eat plants." And, so in my head, I'm envisioning like us braiding our hair, right? Okay, that's me. And I'm like, yeah, it's going to be a girls' night, and I need this. I need to heal and hang out with my women, right? And so I go and we show up to this thing, and I walk in, and I'll never forget it because it was like these candles were lit and incense was burning, and like the now the music that I listen to all the time, the Hindu, and I am like, and there, and I go look at Michelle, like, is this a cult? Like, I'm out. Like, I feel so uncomfortable. I'm not staying here. What have you got me into? And it really took all my will to stay there. And actually what happened is I remember like, Michelle was like, "No, come on, let's hang out. Let's talk," and she's all bubbly and she's a fairy. She's like this angelic creature, and starts talking to some people. And then luckily Genevieve started like talking within minutes after that. Because I mean, I was seriously like, I'm out of here. And basically what happened that night is I took, is it the red one you're supposed to take or the green one? I figure in the Matrix.
Oh,
which is the one that
red
you're
and the
supposed
blue
to
pill.
take?
yeah.
No, remember,
Yeah.
he's like, you take the green or the red pill.
The red
Yeah.
My first sacred sacrament was sassafras.
Hmm.
If you are familiar with that or not, sassafras is a beautiful heart opener. And I had the most heart opening, awakening experience that night. And that was it. And that started my journey. But what it also started was, of course, releasing all the stuff. Like I remember sitting in front of the fire and just releasing all my stuff, all the shame for the failure in my marriage, all my struggles, all, even from childhood, because you got to release first.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, step number one to healing, right, is what?
Awareness.
Awareness.
Yeah.
It woke me up.
Mm.
Then once you see it, it's like there's good and then there's better. So I like to say it started my path on doing better in life. And that's what I started doing. Yeah. And so that got me also to the point of there was another catalytic moment I'll just share briefly that happened actually with my ex-husband, which I think these journeys, these gatherings helped get me to was we actually had a rebirth in our marriage. We came back together for a smidget of a time, and then spirit was like, no, 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 no. And I was actually shown that it had to go the other direction, sadly. But and that catalytic moment was like, again, down and out. Where am I going to go? I went on a soul adventure, if that makes sense. If I didn't jump around too much, full circle. Yeah. And that was probably a year later. That was probably 2013. It was probably 2013.
Melissa, you bring up a really good point, and I think that so many people, when they start the process of healing and they're like, "Oh, I am aware and I want to go through this. I want to do this. They might not understand how messy and how hard and how it gets worse before it gets better this journey and this choice actually is. So I love that you made a point to reference that. Is there anything else that you would say to someone who like maybe just is dipping their toe and maybe thinking about this healing journey as it relates to the messy, dirty?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I can talk so much about that because I will tell you back in 2012, 2013, 2014, again, we had nothing. I was holding on for dear life of survival because you wake up and you start seeing things and you're like, what is wrong with the world, or things like that. But the worst part is what you feel because you start feeling again. So I think I went through a whole year where I didn't leave my house almost because you go out and all the energies, and then all of a sudden you're angry or you're upset and you're feeling other people. So there's that. And then there's also like building yourself up in the vibration, the health consequences, why am I sick all the time, and different things, and it really was. I mean, if it wasn't for those circles in the journey and Michelle and then Lauren, right? Like Lauren came into my life when I started meeting the breath. But we didn't have people that 2012 wave. We really did not have facilitators and helpers and space holders like we have now. And so I think my advice would be, first off, we survived. So congratulating ourselves for those out there who did it. Like, yay, happy dance. It was a lesson through experience for sure. And I think now, though, the beauty is that the help is out there, the support systems are out there. And I think a lot about this movement into the age of Aquarius is about finding your people, finding your tribe, but also the space holders in this spiritual arena. And I use that lightly. It depends on what you believe in. Maybe it's consciousness, maybe it's awakening, but whatever that is that you're looking for, just that shift, is that there's people out there now, the Reiki healers, the breathwork facilitators, the astrologists, the sound people. That's one of the most beautiful things I think COVID did for us, is that was the other activator that made us look for alternatives. So I would say to anyone out there that is just right on this cusp of waking up and you're starting to ask questions like, what is it? What's going on? Or, you know what the question is, if you start asking yourself, what's wrong with me? Truth is, there's nothing wrong with you. You just need to find your right people. Like you're in it and you're making that shift. I see. That's what I'm seeing.
I totally get that, being somebody who is riding the wave with you, right? It's like our mess becomes our message. And so the more that we get out of our own way and we're able to share kind of the journey, as Melissa's sharing her journey, it's like, oh, somebody can relate to that, right? Like, I'm going through the divorce, I'm having the messy marriage, I'm doing XYZ. It's like you're not the only one out there. And so the more that you're able to like share in your shame a little bit, the more easy it's going to be for you to walk the path to finding your people. Right? Because we're
Yeah.
so much more alike than we allow ourselves to have or give credit to sometimes. And I remember, I think it was Dan Brule who would tell us, like, breathwork's the new yoga. And clearly it's taken off in a way that is kind of become just like a yoga studio was then for the folks that were going through these um, healing modalities. And so I love that you were able to share all of those bits and pieces because it makes us not feel so alone in the world. And
Yeah.
so Um, Talk a little bit more about Google Spirit, because I know that also that
Oh,
led
yeah.
you to the, to deepen your path and walk along
That,
breath work.
yeah. I mean, that's how I found my teacher. That's how I did. Yeah. So yeah, because everything's an algorithm rhythm. So what I type in, and then I use this now in my teachings too. So what I type in is going to be what you type in or what you type in, Lauren, right? It's going to be different. Um, and I use this a lot for my medicine wheel and say a student's like, I keep seeing, hummingbirds. And I'm like, well, Google Spirit it. And I can type in hummingbird animal totem. And then my student will type in hummingbird animal totem. And two different things will literally show up. And then I tell them to read usually the first three. And if it resonates with you, that's the message for you. And I work a lot of that too in the breath. So this is a great one too. Another teaching moment is with the emotional body stuff, right? Because we're really just like these little skin bodies, and our body is our greatest messenger, our biggest antenna for emotions, feelings, are telling us what's going on with us. So I also tell my students in the breath, let's say you have a swollen knee, right? That this is an easy one. So spiritual meaning of swollen knee, or what is the emotion behind a swollen knee? So I can look that up. And then like Lauren, if you looked it right up now, Kira, if you looked it up now, we would basically get three different answers. And I guarantee you it's going to relate to whichever one you read or resonates with you. So then you read the top three descriptions. If it resonates with you, then you're like, oh, yeah, that's your message from spirit. It's telling you exactly what's going on with you. And then you get to work on that. That's the awareness piece. And then you're like aware, and then you're like, oh, okay, got stuff stuck in my knee. That's like fear of moving forward. Okay, what am I afraid of to move forward? Okay, let me focus on that.
I love
And
that.
it works for
And I
anybody.
didn't realize I was calling in Google Spirit, but I love that.
Yeah, it's work. Okay, but then that brings in, are you ready for this one?
Give it
Okay.
to us.
Tell us.
Do you guys know the relationship between the hieroglyphics, the net that they talk about? We're going to go back to Egypt. Remember when we all knew each other then? Let's go back in Egyptian times. And they used a messenger or whatever, something called the net. Okay, listen, and that ancient civilizations. Well, everyone should watch ancient civilizations. By the way, you want to know where we really come from? That's a whole nother topic. But so they use the net, internet. The internet is our modern day way of communication. And the way we use it, we have a choice, right? Are you going to use it for good or negative or whatever? There's a lot of negativity around even social media, the net, but it is a way. Listen, spirit, these energies, it's out there in the ethers. Mm-hmm. Other thing. So I choose to use my internet, my World Wide Web, the web I'm both casting out there to others to teach, and also the information coming into me for good. Mm-hmm. I'm choosing that. I'm choosing the love in it. So I also do know the messages that come through me, through my internet, through Google Spirit. And that's why I call it Google Spirit too, because it gives it benevolence. Mm-hmm. It gives it love and light. And I do feel like the importance of, I had a huge aha moment with, there's a great podcast out there by that Emerald gentleman. Have you guys listened to that one? The Guardian and Protectors podcast. Ooh, that's a good one. It's worth it's like a 2-hour long podcast. He talks about, so because I'm a space holder too, right? The need to guard ourselves, to protect ourselves. Okay, very, very important, because especially in the air, stuff can really come into the space and People are releasing their traumas, but we forget that just in everyday life, like every day should be a ceremony or a ritual. So what's the first thing you should get up and do? Pray, gratitude, but pray to your guardians, protectors, that you do have a day full of miracles. It truly is that simple. But those energies also can flow in. We live in two polarities, good and bad, blah, blah, blah. I don't like getting into the bad too much, but it really can flow in. And the internet, because it's in the ethers, is a space that I feel like really can get in there. So you have a choice, look at your feeds on the internet, look at your stuff. But in that podcast, I believe he did something brilliant. He says a prayer to protect yourself from the energies or the frequencies or the messages that come through your internet. Again, I was like, a mosey head with a thing. All I have to do is please, one great spirit, bring in all the benevolent information, all of my special angelic messages that need to come through the internet. Only in benevolence, only in love and light will I receive and disperse information through the World Wide Web. And this is the sacred origination that we came through the ancient times of Egypt, through all of my ancestors. Ahomi Takwiyasa. There we go. Boom. Just did it. Just did it for all of you out there who's listening. Your internet now is now benevolent, may be used in the right way. Right? Woo woo. Yeah. I have another philosophy around that, around AI too.
Tell us.
You want me to share that? Oh my God. I feel like I'm talking so much. I'm like,
no, dude.
Yeah, okay. Oh my God.
It's about you.
This is another one I'm sending out here, and I'm telling a lot of people about this. So those where there was a lot of fear around AI, right? And the internet. Oh my gosh, what's going to happen? And a lot of us teachers, leaders, light workers, spiritual beings, first off, just like me, I didn't want to use the internet. I couldn't figure out technology, first off, hated using it. I would send out my stuff. It'd take me an hour to post a Facebook page, all the things. And then just this past year with the seeing more AI, I mean, it's coming, you guys.
It's here.
It's here. So first off, if you have not realized that, know that. Then what came to me, and again, this was another podcast, this guy was explaining something about how we are the role models for AI. We are the teachers to AI. And what we feed it with, what we teach it, is what it's going to learn. So sure, maybe the bad guys are going to feed it with the bad stuff. Could it take over the world? Maybe. But I know right now, one of my missions, one of my passions is to start putting my stuff out there to the world through technology, internet, whatever, and to AI. So it's going to teach it. It's going to learn it. So AI will become what we feed it. Mm-hmm. So light workers of the world, soul teachers, my soul brother and sisters, my tribe, all of you, we need to start feeding AI, disseminating out light body energies, benevolent material. And that's where I want to honor the two of you for doing this podcast. I'm going to launch my podcast. I'm just kicking it off. I just worked with my dear soul Henri, my soul brother now that I met through all of this work. He has a company called Making It an Easy Day. Talk about, again, here we go, emoji head blowing off. He showed me how to use this AI program. I forget what it is, but if anyone wants to know what it is, reach out to me or these guys. I'm sure there'd be some way for feedback here, right?
Yeah.
Holy smokers, you guys. All he did was type in Melissa's voice frequency, ... She wants to do a membership. Within 5 minutes, it outlined my membership, told me how to promote it, did scripts for the commercials, gave me a script for the intro, outro for my podcast. We did my podcast too. We did this in a matter of 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Then it did a mock-up of my podcast.
It's an incredible tool.
Yeah. So I was like, yes. And so I am on the bandwagon, and again, if it's not your thing, that's fine. But I am on the bandwagon for us as spiritual leaders, teachers, the seekers, the way showers. We're way showers too. I feel like some of you out here, if you are a way shower, my invitation right now would be for you to become a way shower and for us to teach AI to be benevolent. Mm-hmm. That's where I'm going with it. Yeah. So watch out, world. It's go time.
Love it.
Are you ready? Mass media. I might even start my own network. I think we're going to do some TV shows. That's my original background. Yeah. Writing a book now. It's like things. Yeah.
Beautiful. I think it's all energy at the end of the day, and like what we put into it, get out of it. And so one of the things that you had shared early is like you had your awakening, and the first thing that happened is like you start to feel all of the things, right? You're feeling all of the emotions. All of a sudden you're like activated in ways that you've never been before. And so I'm curious, just going back to like some of the modalities that you use, because when that happens, we can get up, right? Like we don't know who we are and how to maneuver through all of the context of kind of the wheel of emotions that we have in front of us. And so, Melissa, maybe you can share a little bit about like how you found peace in those moments, like what modalities or have support you and continue to this day to bring you back to that inner peace.
Yeah. Wow. Well, now there are so many, but let me backtrack, because the first one, of course, is so powerful. And everybody has the breath, right? I always say it's a tool you carry with yourself every single day, right? And right now, like in two breaths right now, you want to do it?
Yeah,
I can activate, I can teach, we'll show everybody out here. This is how simple it is too. Okay. And it's free. We can activate our parasympathetic system right now in this moment, which is your calming system, with ready, a deep inhale in. Let's do it on 3. I'm going to count for you. So inhale on 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Hold it. 1, 2. Exhale for 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold. 1, 2. Inhale. 1, 2, 3. Hold. 1, 2. Release. Long. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Big inhale in. Who felt something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Slow down my spine.
Even if you didn't, yeah. Even and listen, and you could, well, maybe not do it driving for those listeners out there, but now I even do the breath while driving. But that's how magical it is. And it used to not take that long too, I think, in the frequencies and the energies and what we shifted into. But so the breath, a great go-to to find your calm, find your peace, go inward. And then of course you can do more and more and more. And there's hundreds of different breath styles, but it truly is that simple. Just remembering to breathe. So that's my big go-to, of course. I found things like, and now I call it the importance of self-care during these transformations. Okay, we need to learn how to take care of ourselves. And I grew up, I call myself a recovering Catholic, but let's say just Christianity, or this mind frame, and also being a woman, being a divine feminine. We were taught, I was trained to give and give and give and be in service and do unto others and self-service, right? Which is beautiful to do. Trust me, I'm not knocking to be in service. I am in service, but the most important service that you need to give to yourself is yourself. So I now call it self-care is soulful. Your soul, yourself is the first thing, because if you are not healthy, well, whole, or at peace, how can you authentically give to another?
Mhm.
If not, you're just whirling out there. So now, I mean, my self-care practices are massive, but what worked with me in the beginning was the breath, eating healthy. Like my whole food thing changed. Eating earth foods and stuff like that. I'm pretty much a vegetarian now, but awareness around came to me of all the little crap in our food, right? The processed food, the GMO, water. Water is huge. Um, Huge healer, like drinking more, doing that type of stuff. And then I was lucky enough to find like a light facilitator person, but it was funny. One of the things she did, I'm really called to the light. And what I feel like people, um, will find your magic, like do what you're called to, spirit is going to show you. So I did do a whole light downpour thing with a woman named Barbara Wilder. I love her to death. That helped me too. And I remember one day when I'm like, I feel like crap and I'm crying. And like, it was Christmas and people were driving up my road. And I'm like standing there in the living room. I'm like, why am I so depressed? Like, why am I so sad? And then I had a call with her and she's like, honey, when are you going to learn that everything you're feeling is just everybody outside? Like, she's like, you're an empath. And that was my introduction to being an empath. I'm like, in what? What's that? And it was a lesson in me learning that we are all one. We feel each other, or I was feeling each other. And every human being's that way. Some of us are more than others, right? Because we have our different gifts or our mastery. So that's another one too, actually realizing it is that big. It is that real in your transformation. And then now I don't know, you want to speak upon what I do now, because now I have a little toolbox because I just spoil myself. I mean,
I do. I have one more question though, as it relates to what you're sharing, because I think that this is a place where a lot of people get held up. And by a lot of people, I'm talking about myself for one. But like, as you're going through this healing process, one of the things that you always hear is allow all of the feelings to be there. Allow, you're allowed to feel all of the things, but just observe it. Don't react to it, right? Like you can observe that you're angry. Right. You can observe that you're sad. So how does one allow themselves to feel without necessarily reacting impulsively to what it is they're feeling?
Yeah. Okay. Well, wait. So that's beautiful. Thank you for bringing that up. Back between like 2012 and maybe it's just kind of happening. Maybe 2022, the brilliant, COVID forward. I believe, and I could be wrong, but I believe that we actually were kind of closet sufferers in a way where you're right. The modality was, oh, feel it through, but then kind of hide it or marinate in it. I used to I would sit in it. I'd be grumpy, but I was still not really like showing people my stuff, but at least I was connecting in it, cry it out, laugh it out, breathe it through. And I really think very prominently, I know for the past 2 years, I think there's actually been a shift in consciousness or in the energy field or however you want to place it, where we are actually like, oh, no. The new teaching is it is okay to actually show it, because that moves it through, that dissolves it or transmutes it faster.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that helps or answers your question fully. So now I'm seeing, because this is my movement, right? I'm just the example. I'm just sharing with you what works for me. It may not be for everybody, but I'm going to share with you what I experienced. So there was a lot of self-processing where you had to go in, what am I feeling, analyzing it, heal it, where I don't feel like it was done very much in a lot of group work or anything. I don't know. Like, Lauren, was that with you? You're kind of shaking your head, right?
Yeah,
What am I trying to?
I think you're onto it. I mean, the first step,
Yeah.
like you said, is awareness. And a lot of times we carry a shame with the awareness. And so we don't want to be seen in our shame or in our
Right.
self-pity. And I think where your
Right.
head is, and I agree, like, it was very yogic, which is kind of an inner process, right? Like
Yeah.
union
Yeah.
with self, even though we're in groups. And now, where I think you're headed anyways in saying this is like a lot of our healing gets done by being seen by
Yeah.
others,
Beautiful.
you
Yeah.
know?
And the brought up the just like me modality. Like me, Spirit did say, Melissa, it's time for you to share your story.
Yeah.
That's what happened to me this past year, and specifically this past month. It's time.
Mhm.
And so now, like, it did shift into, and this is the divine feminine rising too, rise, sister, rise, because
Right.
we have been so suppressed. So, and I'm not knocking on my divine masculine, by the way, because we both have divine feminine masculine, but men were able to be angry. Okay, right? They could rage. Men, but weren't able to cry.
Mm-hmm.
Able to cry in public either. Whatever has happened, this beautiful energy that comes in, I think we're allowed now to do all the things.
Mm-hmm.
We're allowed to cry in public now, show anger and things like that. But here's the one very, very, very important aspect in my teachings that I'm doing. In this energy release that we're supposed to let go of now, because if not, it gets stuck in your body. And then you dive into the dis-ease, the disease of the body. That's why we get sick.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we have to let those energies go, but there needs to be gentle awareness around the teaching of where do we let those energies go?
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to dance them out and give them to Mother Earth? Dancing's a big one for me right now, right? Are we going to cry them out and bless them and give them to the Mother of the Waters? Or especially with anger was a big one for me. That was my big healing. Is I discovered in my anger, I was directing it towards someone else, and it was hurting them.
Mm-hmm.
And that reality check was, wow, my anger is hurting another. When I yell at somebody, when I rage, and I did discover something else about myself. I was kind of like a go hide anger person. I would go and hide in my anger because I realized that could hurt another in my anger. So then it was finding the tools to let that out and everything. So now in this new energy, here we are, 2025. Woohoo, we made it. Age of Aquarius. Now I have permission, I feel, to show our emotions, share our emotions, because we are truly all in this together. And I guarantee once you do that, it dissolves it faster too. And releasing it from our body creates a better environment too. But awareness around who you're giving it to, why are you doing it, what is the intention?
Mm-hmm.
Intention's big.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
To bring it full circle, it's the intention in releasing the emotion.
Mm-hmm.
I love
right?
that.
What do you think? Yeah.
Well, I want to invite something into the space just listening to you talk. And this is new for me too. I literally just picked this up yesterday in a conversation I was
Yeah.
having with a
I
grief
love it.
counselor. And she does not use the word release because it is a release, like signing a lease again, right? And so we're coming back to like, hey, I'm releasing it, which means not like letting it go, which is powerful, but I'm actually signing myself up for the cycle again. So even when you were talking about your first husband before and you're like, oh, we had a stint again, it's like we can release the energy if we want to learn the lesson over again, or we actually get to let it go. And
Talk about my emoji mind blow. Whoa.
I have goosebumps.
Yeah. And so just an invitation around the power of our words, which are spells, right? We spell words. And so an invitation to let go of something, or dissolve it, right? Instead of releasing it. Because honestly, I don't want to release any of the crap I've gone through in my life.
Wow.
And then the other
Somebody
thing I
else.
want to just kind of respond to in regards to your question, Kira, around like we're supposed to feel it and then observe it and let it go, right? Or and then be the observer, I think was your question. Like, how do we feel it and let it go at the same time, or not be attached to the feeling is, we still have to go through it. Those are the reason the emotion comes up is because it's showing us where our wounds are, like where the misunderstandings in ourself are, where we've had something happen to us, maybe where a trauma comes in. Those things don't ever go away. We just have greater awareness. And this is where, like, at least in my opinion, right? Spiritual awareness or spiritual awakening comes into play is like we've got greater awareness of it, but it doesn't make it hurt less necessarily. So next time it shows up, I may feel it, but it may be felt for 30 seconds instead of for 30 days of me processing the trauma, right? And so this is where the feeling and the letting go comes in. It's like we have a better awareness of, or I think your question was around not responding to it. We were like, oh, here's that thing again, and how am I going to respond? Versus like, oh, here's the thing again, and oh my God, I feel like this, and right, and when we're in the whirlwind of it for those initial times, and so our response gets a little bit more sharpened the more we're allowed to process the feeling, and because now there's just not so much hate and emotion attached to what it was that initially triggered us.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. One of the things that I feel like I am learning is it's like knowing what the word means and understanding it are two different things. And that I feel like is the experience that I've been going through with, you have to observe the emotion and not attach to it. So it's at least from my experience, what it has looked like is it's less of you don't get to, act, react to the emotion, but it's more of that I am not that emotion. Just because I'm angry, that's not that I am anger, or because that's where all the shame and the guilt I feel like get attached to it. Like everybody feels anger. Everybody, and so that's what it's kind of like the journey of that question has been like for me personally.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's like you said, semantics, right? Like how are we using the words? And so with my coaches, Alexi and Preston, like it's like I'm not angry, I'm experiencing anger. And the experience of it allows it to move versus claiming it as my own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And then the other thing is, okay, Lauren, thank you for that. Because that is the new wave. So I have two practices kind of like they're like talking to me that I want to share with everybody. But remember, everything is energy. So you're right, Lauren, like we're having an aha moment here because you're releasing it, but you don't want to disperse it out. Like it doesn't go away.
Mm-hmm.
But you can transmute it. I call in shamanism, we call you transmutation, right? Or dissolve. That's one of my new favorite words. We're dissolving it. And I call in my great Hindu, the Kali Ma or the Sekhmet. Are you guys familiar? Who connected with Sekhmet this year, the great Egyptian dissolver, destroyer, but what it really is it's about transmuting that energy into something better, the higher frequency. Mm-hmm. And so what I always do, there's two things is when you say that dissolve. So what I've started to do with some of my students is I imagine the sugar cube. Okay. And a sugar cube is really pretty too. It's a little sparkly and everything. But so close your eyes, imagine the sugar cube, and let's say it's frustration. And so you get to take that frustration out of your body and like put it in the sugar cube visually. And then you drop it into the glass of water. And that sugar cube dissolves in the water. And then the water becomes sweet. And you can decide, do you want to drink the sweet water? That's the hummingbird medicine, nectar of life. Like you turn it into something better. And then my other big one is also about just choosing love. Like you said, okay, I'm experiencing anger. Anger, that's just a part. We are human. We're here having the human experience. We're allowed to anger, right? I am not anger. I'm just experiencing anger. And wow, anger just wants to be loved too. How would I love anger? What would love say to anger? How would love look? How would love act? And sometimes I'm even giving like myself, like literally giving myself a hug.
Yeah.
Or, what would anger like to go on a massage today? Let me go get a massage. As we were talking about self-care, that's one of my,
it would.
maybe anger needs to eat, half a chocolate bar right now.
Heck yeah. Sign me up.
Give anger a chance to live and experience life, and I guarantee you it will go away faster.
Yeah.
You will dissolve it into like the sweetness of life.
That is good.
Yeah. Yummy.
Well, we can talk all day about all of the things because, this is a continued process. It's a journey. There's no destination. Yeah. There's no getting there. There's no like, enlightenment moment that I've been waiting for my entire life, probably until I realized, oh, it's not going to be there. Like, it's just one step of the journey. And so if people were interested in the breath or the work that you do, Melissa, tell us a little bit about how people can connect with you and what's up? What are you up to in 2025?
Oh my gosh, so much. So so the best way to get in touch with me is either go to my website, breathwork worldwide, one word, or really email me, Melissa at breathwork worldwide. It's really that simple. I am on Instagram. I am on Facebook. So I think it's Breath for Love or Breathwork Worldwide. I'm also on TikTok. I love TikTok. That's a whole nother America's Funniest Home Videos on steroids, as far as I'm concerned. Please, one great spirit, save TikTok because I do love it. It makes me laugh. But so you can find me there in all those places. And this year is going to be a big year. I am doing a breath membership that hopefully will be launched by the end of February. I'm actually going to start my own podcast, and it's called And Then That Just Happened. And it's going to be about navigating the big catalytic moments. I just crashed my car. What does that mean? And Google spearing in it, figure out what does it mean? What are the lessons in it? I am writing my book. In the membership, I'll start to do more virtual breath works. I will be launching, but right now, if anybody wants a little bit now and wants to learn about the breath immediately, go to my website, sign up for ceremonial breath level 1 and level 2 are online now. The medicine wheel revealed. I'm starting a cohort on the medicine wheel. We didn't even talk about the magic of the medicine wheel, but we'll do that another time.
I wanted to get into that today.
Oh my God.
Not enough
it's so
time.
Magical. I know. There's so much. I am dedicated now to do all the things because again, sharing it on the web. I'm casting my net. And I would invite everyone to do that if you're feeling inspired, if you have something to share, and I guarantee we all do. We all have our stories. Share it. Bring it on. So yeah.
Amazing.
More sharing with you guys. That's what I'm going to do.
We definitely have to have you back on to talk about the medicine because I want to I do want to get into that with you.
And then I'm making my album. Making a breath album to take people through the breath journey. And then ready for this? Because you guys maybe will be with me. I'm going to do a breath tour. So it'll be a breath sound healing with the live music. And, I already envisioned the tour buses. So if anybody's interested in being part of my team, Lauren,
that is wild, Melissa, because Lauren and I had a conversation before we hopped on the call today. We've been kind of talking about what the future holds for us, like what we're going to get into. And we were literally just talking about that. right before this call. So
yeah. And so that's the other thing to your listeners. If you have a purpose, I don't know, I keep rambling, Lauren, because I can talk forever, but if you feel a calling, like I think I'm going to make a breath movement. Let's start it right here. January 2025. Calling out to everybody, let's make a breath movement of healing. Join the team, the breath team.
Yes.
And let's go do it, because everybody needs to breathe. And that is how you find your peace and calm in the chaos. Just take a breath.
Back to the basics, baby. Back to the basics. Back to the breath.
Yeah, it's so simple.
Well, Melissa, thank you so much. I mean, for those of you that are listening, Melissa's been a dear friend, also somebody I considered a mentor for many years. We've been on this journey, and if you want to be seen, feel heard, and also explore, like she was saying, what your purpose and abilities are on this planet, check her out. She's got some good juju to offer, and also can help you deepen your own path and on this spiritual journey and these skin suits that we're walking in on this planet Earth. And so thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to having you back talking more about the medicine wheel and some of the other things that are on the planet and this energy that we play in.
I love it.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much.
you guys.
You.
Incredible conversation. Melissa's journey is a powerful reminder that we have so much more wisdom and healing power within us than we realize. If today's episode resonated with you, I highly encourage you to connect with her and explore her work. You can find her at Breathwork Worldwide, where she offers private sessions, group breath circles, workshops, and online courses to help you unlock the power of your breath and nervous system. If you loved this conversation, please take a moment to share it with someone who needs it. Let's continue to spread these healing tools and create a more conscious, connected world. Thank you so much for being here, for showing up for yourself, and for being part of the Zen Curious community. Until next time, keep breathing, keep growing, and keep embracing your journey. We'll see you next week.